Friends, Cowboy Jobu here with the Jobu Report, and as always, thank you for being part of the Jobu Report by subscribing. If you haven't subscribed yet, click on the picture of me and Sean Lee. That way you can get more of the Jobu Report. Well, today on First Take Dallas Cowboys, of course they're always talking about the Dallas Cowboys, the question is, should the Dallas Cowboys try and trade Tony Romo? Now, Joe Theismann weighed in and said any general manager who would trade for Tony Romo with his injured past should be fired. Let's go to the tape and listen to the clowns. Roll 'em.
The man's had 3 back surgeries. He's got a collarbone that's been broken twice. He's 36 years old. He plays behind, the last couple of years, he played behind probably the best offensive line in football. Hasn't finished the season in the last 5. Any general manager that would make a deal for Tony Romo shouldn't keep their job as a general manager. I mean, it's a bad business decision.
That was Joe Theismann telling Bleacher Report that any GM who trades for Tony Romo should be fired, calling it a bad business decision. Max, is Theismann right?
Not only is he right, I have very little to add. It's not that Tony Romo is an excellent Will. I know he's an excellent quarterback, Stephen A. You underestimate him. He is an excellent quarterback when he's on the field.
In the regular season.
But his recent medical history indicates that he will never be on the field for an entire season. He won't make it through. He's actually best served as the backup on the Dallas Cowboys. He's best served as a guy on the bench who, if the starter is hurt, can come in and give you elite-level quarterback play for a couple of games because he has chronic back conditions, plural. That means he will never make it through a season. So you can't game plan a season around him, and you can't chew up a big chunk of your salary cap on him. Theismann's 100% right.
What does chronic mean?
Over and over again over time.
Over and over again?
Yeah.
Like the same thing happening over and over again?
Yeah.
And you generalized his back as one condition. His back.
Conditions.
The spine.
I said
going
plural.
from here to here, just
Yes.
that's one thing.
The spine bones.
A lot of people don't know this, but I'm going to tell you where it's going because a lot of people don't know this, but during the commercial break, Max was placing himself among the intellectual elites of the country, I believe, and I can't believe you would then go on the minute the cameras come on and align yourself with some of the most moronic comments I've heard in football of the last year or so. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous by Joe Theismann. Joe Theismann was a great NFL quarterback. He has not proven to be a great GM, and he sure hasn't proven to be a medical doctor, nor has the intellectual Max Kellerman proven to be a medical doctor. Tony Romo has had the following injuries: pinky, collarbone, ruptured disc, transverse process. Yeah, in the back region, but different, right?
I see.
I mean,
because the backbone is not connected to the backbone,
a literally
right?
different
Or the
part of your back.
collarbone.
Yeah.
Collarbone, and compression factor.
Yeah.
Those are not the same injuries. They're not recurring injuries like saying
I see.
a degenerative knee or an ACL that keeps tearing. These are individual freak accidents. Now, if Tony...
Oh, come on, Will.
You can't say that with a straight face. Say it again with a straight face.
You don't even mean that.
Say it again with a straight face.
You don't even mean
I
have never
You
come on this
don't-
show.
you don't even
mean-
This is the first time for everything. This is your first time. You don't mean that.
And I will say that statement certainly doesn't place you on the intellectual.
You get an
I
A
mean
for
it.
effort.
I
Go ahead,
mean it.
go ahead.
I would never
Let
come
him
on this
continue.
show. I have
Let him-
enough
Okay.
respect
Go
for not
ahead.
only this show,
Continue.
but
This
the
is very
concept of debate,
entertaining.
I understand.
to hold an opinion that I only think and feel.
I understand. I understand. Go ahead.
These injuries are not connected. These are not chronic.
Except by the back.
You laugh and it makes me laugh. That's why I'm smiling.
The backbone's connected to the... Go ahead, Will. I'm listening. Go ahead.
Tony Romo statistically has been one of the most dominant quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Quit laughing, Max. You're making it seem like I don't mean
By
this.
dominant, you mean injury-prone
I
quarterback?
mean a top 5 quarterback
Yeah,
over the last
of
decade.
course.
Most fourth quarter comebacks. Highest passer rating above active quarterbacks. The Denver Broncos, or if you want to go into the non-contender status, Chicago Bears or New York Jets would be very well off to trade for Tony Romo.
5
There's a
games.
price to everything. And just because he's been hurt, I think it's only 3 of the last 4 seasons, doesn't mean he's
not a bad
Please put the camera on Will and say that
Yeah.
again.
Max.
Wait, please put it on Will and just repeat that phrase. What was it? He's just because he's been hurt. What? How many
Three of
times?
the last
I'm just
4
going to
seasons.
I'm going to rest my argument here. I will not be going to Max Kellerman or Joe Theismann for medical opinions on chronic things or what you call damaged goods. I will instead stick with Tony Romo.
First of all, nobody's accusing Joe Theismann of being a doctor, but he is a Super Bowl champion quarterback from the NFC East, which is something Tony Romo has never been, and we now know officially he will never be. And that's the reality of the situation. See, Will, where Max got lost in this argument, but I have not, is that the last time I saw you, we were talking about how Tony Romo was going to be inserted as the starting quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, and how Tony Romo was going to lead them to the promised land, and how Jerry Jones was going to see to it, and how Dak Prescott.
You're not going to talk about Theismann? You're going to talk about me?
No. That's what I'm talking about here. I'll let you speak. This is what we were talking about. And so what has happened is you're in quite a quandary here, because on one hand, you love your Dallas Cowboys, and you love what you're seeing Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott, and the more they do it, the more it ensures your prognostication, how inept, how out there, how lost you were when it came to Tony Romo. So I understand. It's a troubling situation. You can think about it and come back next week and recover.
No, I'm here. I'm ready.
You're in no position to do it right now. Here's the deal. Tony Romo, for all the greatness that you talk about with him, that's regular season, 78-49 record, completing 65% of his passes. The brother's big time during the regular season. Come postseason, he has 2 playoff victories in 10 years. Will Kane, I know you know this. In order to win 1 Super Bowl, you actually have to win a minimum of 3 postseason games in the same season. This man hasn't won more than 2 in 10 years. It is over. And at the end of the day, what it comes down to is this, Will. You can make all the arguments that you want, but Joe Theismann, he ain't a doctor, but he is a quarterback. He did play in the NFC East. He has won a Super Bowl, and more importantly, he's had personal conversations with Tony Romo where he has suggested to Tony Romo that you should retire because of how risky it is. I've interviewed Joe Theismann. I know Joe Theismann. I've spoken to him on many occasions about this. This is not something that Tony Romo is reading about or hearing about on the news. He has looked Tony Romo in the face, and he has said, in the interest of you and your family, these injuries are no joke. And so in that regard, I will only answer it by saying this. Should somebody take Tony Romo? Hell no. Unless you can get him on the cheap so when he gets hurt, it doesn't affect you financially.
Put him on the bench.
That's it.
All right. Number 1.
Yeah.
Number
Go ahead.
1.
Take your
I
time.
don't need a week to form a rebuttal for you. I need 2 seconds. It happens live.
I know you think
as
that.
we're speaking. There's no
I know
week
you-
needed.
I
I'm
know
ready
you-
now.
I know you
Intellectual
think that.
elite in the country.
I know you think
That's
that.
number
There we
one.
go. The
That's
intellectual
number
elite.
one. Number
Go ahead.
2, you haven't peeled back the curtain. You haven't showed anybody the predicament that I'm in that I've got to now argue my way out of with my Tony Romo opinion.
I actually think you did a good job on Mike, and I watched you, and at no time did you address your faux pas when it came to Tony Romo. You, as a matter of fact, avoided that subject religiously, if I recall correctly. Max, I just want you to know, he avoided the subject.
Which
I want you to
number
know
3
that.
I will address now.
Go
I
ahead.
was not
Go
wrong.
ahead. Go ahead.
I was not
so
wrong.
you on the air for 4 hours, you ain't have time to address it then, but you here for a few minutes, you got time.
I say
Take
my
your
good
time.
stuff for you.
Take your time.
I say my
Take
good
your
stuff
time.
for you.
Go ahead.
Well, let me
No, I'm going to put on the spotlight.
Go ahead.
I'm going to dance around in the
You've been
spotlight. I'm not
dancing
getting
a lot
out.
this
I'm not
morning.
trying to get in the darkness. I'm going to dance in this spotlight. Here it is.
You've been doing
Tony
it.
Romo, I still predict, will play a pivotal role for the Dallas Cowboys before the season is over. Either injury or bad play will force Tony Romo onto the field. Dak Prescott is great. I'm so excited about Dak Prescott to be the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys for the next decade. He is playing at a level it's hard to imagine anyone else could play better. But I still know that the rookie has never won. Tony Romo could be hitting Des Bryant on some of these routes he's burned Josh Norman on down the field. I think Tony Romo could be operating behind this offensive line on this team at a very, very high level.
I got
Hold
a
on.
question.
And he will this season.
I got a
He will
question.
this
I
season.
got a question. Am I to understand when you made the statement that no rookie quarterback has ever won a Super Bowl, you believe, even right now, that the return of Tony Romo would elevate the Cowboys' chances of winning a Super Bowl rather than leaving Dak Scott in the lineup?
I think it's 6 one way, half a dozen another.
Oh,
I
Lord,
think
what
they're
kind of
both
damn
great.
answer is that? What's your answer?
I think the
He
Dallas
thinks
Cowboys
Tony
can
Romo
win the
would be
Super
better.
Bowl with Dak Prescott or Tony Romo.
So then what you sweating about Tony Romo
Balls
for
in
then?
trouble.
So what you sweating about Tony Romo for then? Why do you feel this compulsion? Why do you feel this need to get Tony Romo back in the lineup if Dak Prescott can win
Little
with
bit.
it?
You're sweating a little bit.
You
Little
are
bit.
sweating.
Rookie
You didn't know
win a
this?
Super
We
Bowl.
saw the makeup artists come over here and touch up a little bit. You're sweating a little bit. What's going on?
still-
I mean, Dak Prescott, you don't think, can Dak Prescott win with the Cowboys?
Yes.
The Super
Keep
Bowl?
going. The second
So
question is.
why are you worried? Why do you feel the need for Tony Romo? Because I believe Tony Romo.
I didn't say I do.
A matter of fact, I'm counting that. I hope your prediction is correct. Because to me, if Tony Romo gets back in the lineup, it ensures the Cowboys will win the Super Bowl. I hope it happens.
This is what
He
I
said
want to know.
pivotal
Hold on, hold
role,
on.
a pivotal
This is
role.
what I want to know. Why do you need to be a doctor to know that if a guy misses 3 of the last 4 seasons, he's injury prone. It's like,
They're
did you need a
isolated
doctor?
injuries, Max.
Did
Don't
you-
you know they're not connected?
Did you need a doctor to tell you that
Not as
Cal
strong as
Ripken
day for you,
Jr.
Will.
was a
Not as
healthy
strong as
guy?
day for you. Bad morning.
I'm
Did you need a
highly-
doctor for that?
Will,
If
I'm
that's
highly
true,
entertained.
if that's true,
Right.
I'm completely lacking self-awareness because I
Okay.
feel pretty good about this.
Real good. Good. Let's
All right.
leave it on that note.
We'll leave
This
it on
was
that.
fun, Will. Always good
I
to
think
see
I'm
you.
pretty self-aware, Molly.